Today, we've got the most amazing guest, Dr. Lisa Lewis. Dr. Lisa is a trailblazer in naturopathic medicine. She's a hormone specialist. She's an advocate for healing women from the inside and out. And she is a vibrant entrepreneur with lots of great tips and insights on how to really make it thrive in a cash-based business. And so I invite you guys to just listen up. We're going to talk about the ups. We're going to talk about the downs. We're going to talk about it all. So let's get into it. I am excited to welcome my friend, Dr. Lisa Lewis. She is an amazing natural healer, a naturopathic physician, and an acupuncture specialist. She hails from New Jersey. She dominates in the New England area and actually worldwide with her hormone programs and metabolic reset and general just wellness for women. Dr. Lisa Lewis, welcome, darling. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. Such a pleasure. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you because it's so needed.
It is so needed.
Thank you for this.
And honestly, health is what moves the world. Like, if we're not healthy, if we're not living long and living well, the world changes, as we saw in the pandemic, right? Like, this is people like Dr. Lisa Lewis are needed. And more importantly, people like Dr. Lisa Lewis are needed to be successful, right? We need the natural healers of the world to be bosses. And so Dr. Lisa, she's been in natural medicine for well over 2 decades. She is a pioneer in this space, very well known and respected. Tell us about your background and your business model. So I want people to know like who you are, who you serve, how you serve them, you know?
Yeah. So it's interesting because I knew I was one of those interesting children who knew I wanted to be a doctor when I was 5, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know that natural medicine existed. So the only model I knew was Western medicine. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a surgeon. Right?
Yeah.
And then I get to the door because I do all the right things, get all the grades, do all the things that you need to do to actually get into medical school. And I got to the door and was like, screech halt. My spirit was like, no, don't go.
It didn't sit well in your soul.
Not at all. And everybody was like, you're crazy because you work like a maniac to get there and then not go. So because I was in New Jersey, I got a bunch of offers to work in the pharmaceutical industry because this is the pharmaceutical capital of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, let me take a year off. Let me work. Let me see what this medical industry has to offer, and then I'll go back, right? And then a year turned to 10, because as it always does, right?
Right.
So I was in pharmaceutical sales and research, product management, went back and got an MBA because they paid for an MBA.
Amen.
It started doing more consulting in the pharmaceutical industry. But the thing that always, was in the back of my mind was there's something different because every time I'm either working with these doctors or in the hospitals, people aren't really getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's how the system
and
is set up.
Right. We're shoving all these drugs and shoving all these, procedures and surgeries, and people aren't getting better. And I don't want to practice that kind of medicine. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going back to medical school to practice a medicine where, by the way, 95% of the doctors were telling me if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't go.
They wouldn't do it. Right. Who wants to start school
They
with
were
that?
really honest. That's right. That's why I was like, And at the same time, my health started to go downhill because I was pushing myself. I always did one of those type A, overdriven, just go, go, go. And none of these doctors could help me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I started my journey, like in around my 22, 23 year age. And I was like, if I'm not feeling my best now, and I was an athlete, I was always in shape. I don't think I ate perfectly because who did? If they didn't learn how to eat, right? And you just ate whatever. And I started on my journey. And my journey ended up being like, blood type diet, just finding practitioners who were alternative, but in New Jersey, still MDs, but doing alternative medicine. And they all were saying to me, if you're going back to school, go to naturopathic school.
Yep.
Because you're your hands are going to be tied. If you graduate from this school, you're going to be forced to prescribe and follow formulations and all these things. So I
you
started
had
doing
that
my research.
internally though, in you. Like I think
Yes,
a lot of
yes.
people going to school, they're lost and don't really know. Like you had it in your heart and in your soul, like conventional
Yes,
medicine, that path is not for me. And you
yes,
took the
and
time to figure that out, and then natural medicine found
yes,
you. Is that how it worked?
yes, yes. And so one of the reasons why, going back, one of the reasons why I chose surgery was because when I was 13, my brother got shot.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
And the surgeon told us that he was never going to walk again. And I had a few words for that surgeon.
Sure.
Being a mouthy little 13-year-old.
Sure.
And was like, you don't know my brother. You don't understand the healing power of the body. Like, you just can't come out and tell someone this is the prognosis when you don't know. Now, of course, what happened? My brother did walk again, and he is walking, right? And so I was like, okay, this is something, there's something different. There's something that needs to be addressed, and I can't practice that kind of medicine. And I also had a doctor who made house calls, right? The doctor who birthed me, right, and birthed my siblings, cared about me. So I was like, if I want to be a doctor, I want to be that kind of doctor. And that wasn't what I was seeing, and that wasn't what was being cultivated in the schools at the time,
Absolutely.
right? So I think I was seeking for a long time, knowing that doctor or medicine was my path, but really seeking, like, what type of doctor do I really want to be? Way before probably someone would, because most people don't even choose a discipline until they get well into medical school, right? So I think it was a beautiful thing that I got a chance to work in the pharmaceutical and medical industries, because that really put me on the path to seek something different and that felt good in my spirit.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm just thinking, like, you had the corporate experience before you decided to go into medicine and then entrepreneurship. Very similar to myself. I always call myself a corporate trained entrepreneur. That the experience, I was in pharmaceuticals as well. That experience kind of, opened my eyes to, what medicine is, what I like, what I don't like, all the things. What was your mindset when you were entering into medical school, natural medical school? Because I'm asking because there's a money mindset thing that goes along with just being a physician, period. I have some clients and doctors who believe that they should be inherently wealthy and rich and stuff. And I have some that are like, I just want to help people. Did you go into natural medicine or as a physician thinking, you know what, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to be rich? Like,
yes.
That's
yes
okay,
and
good.
yes.
Good. Because that's the thing, Lisa, like where people are in this space and have issues with making money and making a big, healthy business out of it.
Well, just imagine the 21 or 20-year-old person coming out of undergrad, making six figures, having a free car,
that was
and
me.
making making commission. Like the sky was the limit. It was like, okay, this is my territory and I can make as much money as I want. Watch me, right? And so I didn't think going to natural medical school was going to be a reduction in salary. I was like, no, this is really going to be my business. So now the sky is truly the limit.
Right.
And when I got there, I was like, these people don't think that they have some kind of poverty consciousness where they think, because they're supporting people in their health, that they don't need to make money. And you can't help too many people if you're not making money. You can't keep your doors open. You can't support. You can't reach out. You can't even provide services, even if some people are providing on a sliding scale. If you can't pay your employees or you can't pay the overhead, or
what are you
there is no business.
Yeah,
there's no business, right? And so I went in completely the opposite of most of my classmates. Like it was just, but remember, I had already had the MBA experience and all the other stuff, right?
You had some core foundational, hard skills that a lot of physicians don't have. So you go through medical school, you do your residency. right? And like,
Well,
what?
listen, naturopathic medicine in itself doesn't have a defined residency
I
program.
thought, explain. I thought that you all did.
Yeah, we are mavericks. I guess that's the easiest way to say it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like the wild, wild west. You can graduate and open your own practice. You can graduate and work with, you can work with a seasoned practitioner. You can. There's now a few places, clinics, hospitals that now accept naturopathic medicine as part of their
offerings.
options and
The
offerings,
specialties.
right? Right. And so now there's more of that. But just imagine you got 100 people graduating from school. There weren't 100 of those opportunities around. It was like most people didn't even come out and practice.
What?
They came out and worked in Starbucks or whatever. Like they didn't know how to run a business. They were just like, oh, okay, let me see. Right.
That's a good point, though. There's no like corporate chains. Like I'm in Atlanta, there's like Wellstar and Northside. Like there's no like corporate owned chains for a natural medical doctor to just apply and work for. So the next step is to open up your own business, right?
Right.
Are you?
And so you have to be a natural. You have to be a natural entrepreneur. No, we're taught like practice management, right? Like how to manage like your CRM, like your EMR, and how to chart and how to make sure that you are staying in line with the laws in your state and so forth and so on. But nothing like business management, how to go out and get business, right? Like sales, marketing, none of that, right? Because quite frankly, the curriculum was so intense. I don't know where they would have added that.
Yeah, like because you having to learn Eastern medicine, Western medicine, conventional, allopathic, naturopath. Like you got to learn it all. And then
we were already taking like double the credits of a Western doctor.
So the expectation or what the industry says now is like, you go to school and then basically you start your own business. So describe to us what that was like for you. And I know that there's different layers of challenges here. So there's the challenge with people not understanding alternative healing. There's the challenge with not having the actual skills, needed to run a business.
Yes.
There's sometimes a challenge, especially for minority doctors, people of color, accessing money to open up your business. If you don't have like a loan or a parent that died and left you some cash or whatever. Like, just kind of talk about what that experience was like for you, because this sometimes is enough to take people out. Or go work at Starbucks or drive Uber instead of using my degree. So just kind of paint the landscape for us. Tell us what that was like for you.
I would tell you that no matter what kind of degree I had, no matter what kind of business experience I had, no matter what my prior experience was, walking out of school and going into the workforce could be described by one word: bootstrap.
Bootstrap. You just bootstrapped it all together.
Bootstrap. I get the Bootstrap Award. Okay.
Love it.
Right. I knew how to start a corporation. Is it a professional corp? Is it LLC? Like I understood all of those things because of my MBA, which was actually in entrepreneurial studies and pharmaceutical and chemical studies. Right. So it was like a dual MBA. So I understood those pieces, but how to run the practice, all the pieces, like how to establish business credit, like none of that. Like none of that, right? So I did the easier way. I went to work with my first year. I went to work with a more seasoned practitioner in kind of an internship, but wasn't really an internship because I wasn't learning anything. Like I didn't learn anything. I was just a low paid,
helper
practitioner. Right? Exactly. Let me have you do all work and take 50% of what you what you make, right? Yeah. Ridiculous, right? So, but everybody's like, "Oh, you pay your dues, and I didn't mind because I was like, I need to learn, I need to understand for someone who is quote unquote successful in the business and it's been there for 20+ years. But then about month 7 or 8, I was like, wait a minute. I'm creating this amount of money and I'm paying out that amount of money. And if I would have had my own office, my own staff, and all these other things, I wouldn't be paying this. I'd be
This
paying
amount.
a whole lot less.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to renegotiate, and she didn't want to renegotiate. So I said, peace. And I opened my own practice. So that was like about 12 to 13 months in.
Okay. Wow. So
And
you fixed the situation
yeah,
fast. A lot of us
fast.
stay in a rut for a long time
Oh, yeah.
because we don't know our way out. It's like you're in quicksand trying to just
Yes.
like figure out what the next best step was. And thankfully for you, you didn't wait a long time. It was 10 years.
I'm
for
a
me.
risk
You were
taker.
like 12 bucks.
I'm a risk taker. I'm a leaper. Like, I don't wait. Like, I went to one school. They're not giving me what I need. I'm transferring.
Right.
Like
I love it.
ASAP. Right. Like I'm gone. Like it's not even a thought. It's like, okay, I got what I needed. Let me get the next thing.
Yeah, I don't have
I'm
time
out,
to waste.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, and for me, it was also a bit more challenging because I was using every skill that I had. I was staying up all night, creating presentations. I was speaking free, going out into the community, just being as visible as humanly possible,
Mm-hmm.
trying to educate the community because they just weren't used to
Mm-hmm.
having people who look like me out there talking about natural medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't used to using it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a long, as we call in business, right? It was a long sales cycle.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Right? It's a long sales cycle. And so I knew that, and I was also already used to going out and talking to people. I had no problem asking for the business, right? Because when you're in sales, you have no problem.
Always
and I'm a hunter,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm already the entrepreneur. Like I like to eat what I kill,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So I had no problem. So by the time I opened my practice, I was full in a month, in like a year and 6-8 months. I was
I
full,
love that.
right?
Were you by yourself for the first year? Or did you have like the team? Like you went all in?
No, it was leave that practice, open up a space, hire a front office staff and somebody to support me, and then I just did everything else. It was like bootstrap for real, right?
What were some of your struggles in the first couple of years of being in business for yourself? What were some of the roadblocks you encountered?
Yeah. The economy is always a roadblock because it was a cash-based business. We were really at the whim of the economy and the whim of, the seasonal holidays, like during Christmas or Thanksgiving up until the beginning of the year. Nobody wants to talk about their health, right?
Yeah.
In the summer when people are on vacation. So there were always, and to this day, same thing. There's always downturn. So you always had to prepare for that, right? Also, you always had to prepare for the unexpected, right? Quick story. I was making a lot of money promoting supplements because what we use in our business is supplementation to help people heal, as opposed to doctors using medicine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we would have another leg or arm of our business that we would say another income stream from supplements, right? And so I was doing really well, prescribing the right, supporting people with the right stuff. So they were, consistently refilling. And then all of a sudden, I see like my sales are going down. And I'm like, wait, what's going on here? And so these companies that I was promoting and selling their supplements were supposed to be doctor grade companies that only we have access to as right. And all of a sudden it started going away. And then I asked the patient, I was like, okay, they were like, no, I'm still on my supplements. I said, but you didn't refill. And they were like, oh no, I bought that from Amazon.
Yeah.
That's when Amazon came out and took all my money. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm a sales rep for Amazon. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
That is not happening.
It was to a lot of people.
It was the worst because that was really what sustained you during those downtimes.
That's the pajama money, y'all. And for practitioners who are listening, she's talking about the different income streams she needed to have firing at all times because it's a cash-based business, highly referral-based. But that pajama money, that money that comes in your sleep, are the extra things that your clients buy from you, i.e. supplements. What did you wind up doing? Did you private label, or what did you do to kind of get your money back?
At the time I did. I started the products that I would use most often. I either bundled and pack it. I had this amazing detox pack. And I private labeled, right? And so that's why, like, 20 years later, now I have like 144
Products.
my own products, right? Some that I formulated on my own, some that I private label. Simply because, not just because I don't want them to buy them from Amazon. It's because you don't have control over something that you don't buy from a manufacturer. You don't know where it's been stored. You don't know if it's temperature controlled. You don't know if it's expired. You don't even know if that's the real product in the supplement, right?
Right. We don't know.
Right.
Kind of like jumping back into your income streams and what you did to grow. You were saying that, Amazon was what came in, decreased
Took my
sales
money.
because folks were going to Amazon for the product. So that forced you to private label, which is good. Took years to kind of develop that. But over the past couple decades, you now have this suite of products that are some formulated by you, some, your private labeling. I think that's so smart. I'm curious. In this, growing an alternative holistic business, it has its own set of challenges, especially if you have a non-believing audience. What have you done to get your women really bought into your process, especially Black women? Because I haven't really touched on that, but I do know that you have you have a passion and a niche to support Black women encountering stress and hormone imbalances because, our stress can be different. It presents differently, So just kind of what have you done or had to continue to do to reach your audience and educate them on how you heal people?
Yeah. Wow. The education piece is
Never ending.
key. It is webinars, challenges, ads, Facebook ads or Instagram ads, YouTube. It is just getting the message out about, here, if you have this problem, we want to get to the root cause. And the root cause is definitely more than you would ever have thought of. Like, there's different systems that you could never imagine that are out of balance, right? And not to just want to take something, right? Even holistic medicine, most people come to me and they're like, what should I take? So I don't even run as the default to the supplements. It's like, how do you change your lifestyle and environment and all of that? And so it's education around how we need to be, not just what we need to do in order to get healthy, and all the challenges that we experience on a daily basis, how they're impacting our health, and how we delay addressing that and what kind of effect that has. So I could teach every day. And I've had to actually create a very specific funnel. Because as I have on my website a button that says, hey, interested in moving forward with their health, here's a discovery, click this for a free discovery call. I had to have a strict application process because people will come to that discovery call just for information. And that burns me out trying to do a whole lot of, right. So I used to do challenges once a month, webinars, just like everything, master classes, speaking engagements, getting on people's stages, just educate, because we already know that holistic principles aren't what we live by as a society, right?
Correct.
So then getting people to buy into, you are in control of your health. You don't have to depend on all of these people to get and stay healthy is a different paradigm shift. And it takes a long time to change people's paradigm, right?
It is. And sometimes that's not even your person. Like, you kind of need somebody that's already got their toe, in some Birkenstocks. Like,
and literally that's what that application process is for, right? The questions are, where are you in your health journey? What have you tried before? What are your, what are the health challenges?
Yeah.
Are you open to investing in your health? Because the number one question I get is, is this covered by insurance? Because we have been indoctrinated into believing that insurance is going to get us healthy, and it is absolutely not.
I freed my family from the whole insurance hustle, like, because I mean, even though I have my own business, like we provide benefits and stuff to our team, and I've been paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for my family of four and never using it because we do holistic functional medicine and we have to pay cash. So we have a different policy now for catastrophic things like the ER and the MRI and those things, but we cut that cord. That's $2,500 a month pre-tax that I can actually like just pay straight out, and it's the same money. It's the same. It's just being applied, to what matters to us. I just
and I just want to make sure that that's not glossed over. Like, I want to make sure your listeners hear that process, because that's the education that I have to, support people with, that paradigm shift. That it took you a minute, right, to get to that place where you recognize that that the okie doke, right? You were being told that if you buy insurance, that this is going to help you stay or get healthy. And then when you try to use it for things that actually will support your health, they were like, we don't cover that. We don't cover that. We don't cover that.
Not
right?
a single functional lab, not a single exam, not a single office visit. None of it was covered. But I have I'm on a different path,
Right.
And it did take years,
and so,
Lisa.
And that's the person that is my person, right?
Yeah.
Because I spent a lot of time educating. Now we can have videos that educate to that, so that I don't, so they can have that information before they see me. But, flexible spending accounts, healthcare spending accounts, like, even if you don't have the opportunity to change it right then and there, and or shift, you're not comfortable with a catastrophic coverage only. Once you're healthy, those big Cadillac policies, you're just throwing money down the drain. You wouldn't have control over your healthcare dollars. And so again, but that's also someone who is ready to invest.
Yes. Who is ready to invest. And that's who you have to attract. And that education funnel, oh my gosh, I think that is so critical for those that are in the trying to grow their practice, right? You are basically, I would say, this may be a stretch, Lisa, but if you aren't talking about your business every day, you're probably missing opportunities, like selling opportunities, or like every day. And it's not even that you are physically doing something, but repurposing the content or splicing up videos you already made, being on YouTube, definitely on LinkedIn. Dr. Lisa, your woman is on LinkedIn and she got a job. That's like another place for you to, start posting and running ads and running traffic. I think that whole it's the omni-channel approach where you're attacking on every side. You've been doing this for years. Some people are like, "What? I never heard of that." Like, this is. I mean, but this is like that. What you have to do. Like, tell me, how important was niching down for you? Because I imagine that's been an evolution. Like, you probably were maybe a generalist, I'm assuming, before.
Yeah.
So what's been that path for niching, and what are your niches now?
Yeah. So, when we graduate, we're told, you're a general practitioner, you can fix everything, right? You basically, you learn about everything in the body, right? Because we learn the body and what to do in an eloquent way, right? So we're in our mind, we're saying, well, why am I going to only spend time with this person when I can help everybody, right?
Right.
So I did that for the first few years and burnt myself out.
I'm sure.
It's a lot of detective work. And also didn't make the impact that I wanted, because I was spending so much time studying cases, and not being paid for all of that time, right? So I really quickly took on the stress niche,
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Probably about 2 or 3 years out, because I was practicing in DC and Maryland. Most of my people were also from the tri-state, New Jersey, New York tri-state area.
Yeah.
And they were high powered, like people who were just like, and the common denominator was stress.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know how hard it is to convince somebody that they have stress?
To sell stress. Yo, like that's like the hardest niche to grow. Folks that have a niche in cortisol and stress, oh God. Because people, we don't understand. Like you're talking about clinical stress, right? That's not
Yes,
a household term.
Well, I'm talking about like anything that pushes your body out of balance, anything that isn't keeping you in the rest and digest, right? Anything that's not triggering the parasympathetic, the calming part of us, right? We have normalized stress in our culture, period. And so when you tell someone this is happening because your stress is too high, they look at you like you're crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because they're like, what do you mean? I have to do this. I have to work all these hours. I have to get this done. I have to take the kids to school. I have to put this. I have to do this. I have to do. What do you mean all the things that I have to do are causing disease, right? Like that's not possible for me to change anything, right?
Give me another diagnosis.
Yes. And what it truly is saying is that the way that you were, again, indoctrinated into however you're living, however you're making your living, whatever, you've been fooled into thinking that we have to live this life on edge in order to have a fulfilling life, when it's actually the opposite. It's actually breaking you down, right? And so, man, the education around that, it was like I had no idea that it was going to be so hard.
We don't know. If I teaching someone how to read, like, or how to speak English,
and it was hard for me.
Yeah.
It was hard for me. I mean, the primary reason why I got to is because I started supporting people. And then I was like, wait a minute, I think this person has a cortisol issue. This person has an adrenal issue. This person has a hormonal issue, but they also have a cortisol issue. And so I started treating the stress unbeknownst to them. I didn't tell them that's what I was treating first. I just started treating that first. And then people were getting better, like 50, 60, 70% faster. And then I didn't have to treat all the other stuff. And I was like, oh, here it is. So I said, well, let me niche on that. Well, not so successful. Even wrote a book called Stop Stressing Me Out, trying to teach people that stress is a huge factor in the disease or dis-ease process, right? But then also helping people understand the kind of control that they have over their health and how they can transform their stress and transform their life. And so then I started, because I'm also doing acupuncture, I started veering off into hormones, right?
Oh, okay.
And that same cascade, that same stress cascade is also responsible for miscarriage, infertility, fibroids, heavy menses, like all of the female hormonal issues can be attributed to cortisol stealing the progesterone, right? And all of that kind of stuff, right? So I was like, okay, well, this is an easy transition. So now I transition to stress-related hormone imbalance. Right?
Okay. So you're using
and
hormones
so
to
that
help
was a
fix
little
the
bit
stress.
easy.
Okay,
Yes,
that's real neuro.
And or addressing both the stress to help people get pregnant, or help women especially, and even men, right, to balance their hormones, right? Because most people go straight to the hormone and they don't recognize that these other body systems, even thyroid, right?
Oh yeah.
Are all attached to, because they're all hormones, steroid hormones associated with this cascade, right? So that was a little bit easier, right? Because it was a tangible.
They need something tangible. They don't want herbs and stuff, girl. They don't. I mean, I'm sure that's a part of it for sure.
Yes.
But what I've noticed in trying to market and support people that are in the stress space, it's too soft. Like when you're going just the quote natural route, right? Like it's all the lifestyle.
It's not urgent enough.
It's correct. It is not urgent enough. We don't feel like it's urgent enough, and your your way of fixing me isn't fast enough, and I'm not gonna go.
And I gotta do too much work.
Too much
for you to fix me.
It's all
right?
too much.
Right?
Give me a shot. Give me some hormones or whatever, at least, and then I'll work through the other stuff, in your 12-week. So I think that's a great lead into what is your actual process. Like, when people are buying from you, I'm sure this has also evolved. You're probably one-on-one individual visits when you first started. And now that you pop in with these big months and big old practice, how do people work with you now? Like, what was that evolution from then to now?
So interestingly, when I first graduated and I would move into my own practice, that I started recognizing that I was saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I need to record myself, or I need to have a handout or something that I give everyone. So very early on, I was like, whatever I'm doing needs to be batched or automated or something.
Yeah,
right?
To scale it. Yeah.
And so I started my first weight loss program a year and a half out of school.
Okay, so you had that thinking early, right?
Yes, because I realized that, number one, people needed a community. I didn't want to keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. And I figured I could say the same thing to 20 people in the same amount of time as I could say it to one, right? But I was so burnt out by building a program, creating and running it, doing that that I was like, oh, great, it worked. And I made a decent amount of money, but it killed me. I'm not doing this no more.
Right.
Like, we do the thing that works. And then what happens? We just put it on a shelf.
Right.
And make something up, because we're creators. We just want to keep creating. So I had the mindset of packages and groups very early, but I didn't have a process. I was just like winging it. Right. So when I finally got to that place where I'm tired of doing one-on-one, and I was just burning myself out, that's when I realized, no, I need to take this niche and support multiple people at the same time. And that was probably about 7 years later.
Oh, wow.
After that first program. Yeah.
Okay. And now
and then it was also associated with my going virtual. Right. So I also said, why do I have to do what I do face to face? When I'm consulting people, I can support people all over the world. So when I was leaving DC and moving out to California, because I was kind of burnt out from the DC, Maryland area, and I was like, I need to shift. My patients were like, I don't care if you go to the moon, you still gonna help me, right? So you're gonna have to figure what that looks like. And that's when I started going the virtual journey. And then I realized, I can support people one-on-one, but especially in groups, virtually. So that's when I really started to say, hey, you have this common problem, this niche.
Yeah.
I can build a program that's specific to support you with the signature systems that I use, and move 10 people or 20 people or 50 people at the same time. And you have a community of people where you bond. By the time that program's over, everybody's like, they're best friends. And they're like, we don't want this to end, because you bonded so much more, and you learn so much more in a group program. So I love doing groups. And even if people are like, oh, I'm shy, I'm not going to ask a question.
Yeah.
They get more,
because
they get
listening.
more.
Yeah.
So I do for my higher end one-on-one packages, I include the group in it, because I want them to have that experience. I want them to be able to move faster, right?
Yeah.
But it took a minute to develop like the muscle to shift what I learned in school, which was one-on-one, and everybody's this unique process, and for me to pull out my system, to develop my system and pull that out, because I'm like, I'm doing this and this and this with everyone. This is my system.
This is your signature process.
Yeah. So it took a while for me to shift my consciousness from, spending 9 hours studying every case to like, listen, you've been doing this for 5-10 years now. This is your process. This is your unique system. And now that you have that unique system, you can apply that to several different niches. So I went berserk, and created a gut program, and an adrenal strength program, and a hormone balance program, and a thyroid program, and a blood sugar program, because I was like, these are all the people that are coming to me, and voila, if they don't want to do it in groups, I can hand them the content, and help them do it and let them do it on their own.
That's so smart.
And and if they can't afford the higher price, then I can still support them, because that's always been an Achilles heel of mine, to recognize that so many people want the work, but they either can't afford it or haven't gotten to a place where they recognize the value of the investment.
The value. Yes. I'm not even going to go on this whole can't afford it, because everybody pays for food. We pay for clothing. We pay for things.
They pay for their hair and their nails and everything else.
Their daily
Starbucks.
Thank you. Their daily to-dos. It's just the value. I was having this conversation with my husband the other day, because he is, he's a health coach. He was presenting a package, and the person was like, "Golly, that lab test is expensive," because labs are separate from like the cost to read it. And he was like, "Lauren," he's like, "What do you think I should say back?" I was like, "She doesn't see the value, babe. Like, that's all." Yeah. That's like literally it. You need to explain why the cortisol test is necessary for the very next step. So like this whole, like, what has changed for you? What do you think was like that aha, that wake up that says, you know what, I'm not going to fail at this? Did you have like a rock bottom or something that was like, ain't no way. My own rock bottom moment, child, I was on the flow. All board. Like sometimes business situations will take you there. Because we have identity wrapped up in this. Like, this is our purpose. This is why we're here. And when it's not working, it can be quite jarring to you physically and emotionally. So, like, what was your aha moment that I want practitioners to hear so they know what the other side of this can look like?
Yeah. So, I've had a lot. Right. Moments. Like, I'm trying to think of
which one.
One in particular, because I think I have a rock bottom moment once or twice a year.
You're just second guessing everything. Like, why, Lord?
Why? Because, every time you grow and every time you get ready to go to another level,
new level, new devil.
New level, new devil, right? So you have to upload and adjust and up-level your thinking and everything. And what you were doing before doesn't necessarily work at this other level. And then you try and do it, and then you fail. And you're like, well, what the heck? I was doing this. It was working before. Now what? Right? Mm-hmm. And so I've had, I every time I shift or change, I had to embrace failure. Like, I had to recognize, oops, you ran that webinar once or twice or 3 times.
No sales.
Right? Right? Nothing. Right? And you're like, was it me? Right? Wasn't the content? Right? Like, you have to be prepared to do something over and over and over. I had to get rid of my perfectionist, right? Because she was in there messing everything up. Mm-hmm. And then also my health had to go downhill, where I ended up not being able to practice for almost a year. Right? So no doors open for anything. And I'm single and the sole person who pays my bills. So I had to close up everything, right? Like, and start from scratch. Right?
That was fairly recent. Was that 5 years ago?
It was 2012. It was 2012.
So it's a while ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, over 10 years.
Yeah, my last surgery.
Oh, the one that I
had to have. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was 2012. But the surgery, for people who don't know, I had a hysterectomy that went bad, that they made an error, and I had to have 3 or 4 more surgeries to fix the error, because they kept making an error every time they tried to fix it.
Jesus.
And then eventually, 5 years later, I ended up losing my kidney because of it, right? So I have like post-traumatic stress, had post-traumatic stress over that,
from
right?
The business, PTSD from the business, PTSD from the surgery. from the money,
Yes,
the
from
income,
all of that.
from the patient loss. Like you rebuilt. I had no idea. Wow.
Feeling like a failure
Wow.
because like, oh, you shouldn't have had surgery in the first place, which is what it wasn't something I could have avoided. But all the things that go through your mind,
Yeah.
and having to rebuild from scratch, like having to close everything down. And that's the beauty of virtual, right?
Mhm.
I'd already started doing virtual, so I knew how to rebuild fast. And so every failure that I had, I was able to come back stronger because I was able to take the information that I had learned before then, shift. And what was the word that everybody used during the pandemic? There was a phrase, read something. It was whatever it was, but people had to change how they were doing business during the pandemic, right? I had to do that like 5 times before the pandemic. So
yeah, so you was ready. You was pandemic ready.
Right. I was teaching a course. I was teaching naturopathic and holistic doctors how to package their stuff.
I love it.
So the year before the pandemic, like I had this program called the Profitable Practitioner Program, teaching them how to build out their signature systems, so they could do what I was doing. And literally, the month that I finished that program, the first time I offered it was March of 2020,
when the
world shut down.
Yeah.
So those people who had gone through that program were all prepped and prepared for virtual and packaging and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I'm always on the edge. Like I'm always there. Like, I'm doing stuff like 10 years or 5 years before everybody else is doing it. So I'm what they say, the person with the arrows in the back. You can find the pioneers because they're face down in the ground with arrows in their back, right? That's me.
She has paved the way for us. Y'all hear Dr. Lisa, she done it. She done failed. She done closed her business twice. She done opened up, restarted. She's been virtual for years before Zoom was a thing. Like, I feel like, this is why I love these conversations, Dr. Lisa, because there are folks that are dreamers now and just starting now. And don't know the things that you're talking about. They don't know the importance of niching. They don't know the importance of being a good business person.
Yes.
They don't know the importance of having a signature system and a process.
Yes.
Or just the mindset that, you're here for a particular reason. You're plopped in on this earth with your meat bag, your body, your soul, and you got to do something with it. And you did the schooling, you did the, the corporate work, and you followed your heart to the right path for medicine for you. And you said that there's people that didn't make it. They got their degree and didn't even practice. Right?
Oh yeah, like on a regular basis. Like, I think the stats are like 60 or 70% of naturopathic doctors don't even practice after they graduate.
God.
It's high.
Oh my God.
High. And it's not even hardly that many graduating from the schools anyway, because only like 3 or 4 schools that practice. So so the face down moments were moments of economic downturn, because people don't have the disposable income.
Yeah.
Right. The downturns are like the holidays, even like the program that I just finished creating in ISB, right? That menopause, I created a menopause program because now I'm in menopause and I'm struggling with some of the challenges because what worked before menopause isn't working after menopause.
Yep.
But literally that time of taking that course, that 3 or 4 month period, was my downturn. That was the time when everybody's on vacation. Nobody is scheduling
that's
discovery
scary.
calls.
That's scary.
Like people are like clank, right? Like we're not spending no money on nothing, right? So I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? And it was just a blessing that I burned the boats and ain't no turning back.
Yeah.
I can't, I'm unemployable, right?
We can't work for nobody. So we just kind of have to make this, we got to figure this out because we're unemployable.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, I just had that resilience. And I'm just one of those people who won't stop until it's done or figured out. And I may sacrifice my body or sacrifice for it, right? But I'm not gonna stop.
Whatever
and that's how I am with my patients too. Like I'm like, we gonna figure this out. period. Right? Like we get into the root of the root.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it helps me in all aspects of my life, but it also can burn you out. So you have to learn that self-care and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was like, all right, you make 70K or you make 60K or you do whatever you got to do, or your doors don't stay
or
open.
your doors
so
aren't open.
What you gonna do? Right? Like what you gonna do? Yep. And I am a firm believer in, when you're an entrepreneur, if you have a plan C or D or E, right? Like you always got half of your energy somewhere else.
Thinking you got something to fall back on. You can't. There is no plan B. It's just not. It's the way that it is. And I love that you are just breaking the statistics. That's a main reason why I wanted to have you on here, because it's important for folks with a message and folks that have, you're a healer and you want your practice to work. Like Dr. Lisa is an example of somebody she took the risk, right? She's on the alternative side of things, where the path to success isn't as clear or as straight as it is in some of the conventional ways, right?
Yeah.
And sticking with her purpose and the vision and that mindset. Dr. Lisa is an example of a successful woman who owns her own business, who is helping thousands of people. Think about the people that buy from her and the ones that just listen to her, on Instagram or on YouTube or on this podcast. The reach is very wide. So I appreciate you, Dr. Lisa, for being the pioneer, for laying flat on your face with all the arrows in your back. So and opening up this conversation on thriving in medicine and thriving in your solo practice. And y'all, I want you to follow Dr. Lisa, learn from her. How can we, if we want to find you, Dr. Lisa, how can we find you?
Well, I was blessed enough to get in this game a little bit early, so I have a lot of Dr. Lisa Lewis stuff, right?
Yeah.
So Dr. Lisa Lewis on Facebook, or Dr. Lisa Lewis ND, Dr. Lisa Lewis Instagram, Dr. Lisa Lewis on YouTube, Dr. Lisa Lewis on LinkedIn.
So in short, it's Dr. Lisa Lewis.
Dr. Lisa Lewis.
Dr. Lisa Lewis, women's health and hormone expert, helping women manage their stress, lose weight, and thrive in perimenopause. She helps people all over the world. And I'm just happy that she is not only helping people, but she's making money. That's what this is about. How can you help people and make money in any order possible? Thank you, Dr. Lisa Lewis, for your time and for your energy. You are such a gift. Keep thriving, girl. We will see y'all next week. Peace. Hey, y'all, thanks for tuning in to Power Moves Health Marketing Podcast. If you're ready to transform your practice with smarter strategies and cutting-edge tools, I want you to head over to microsite.com to book a strategy session with me and my team. While you're there, check out the show notes for links, resources, and my free Power Moves playbook. Remember, every move you make is a step toward becoming the health business leader you're meant to be. Let's keep building your momentum.